Hello everyone, welcome to DEEPSIGHT. Let us take you on a journey through historical time and space to explore the profound connotations of ancient civilizations. In this video, let us continue from the previous issue on the history of the Vandals and the havoc they caused in Rome, and take you to follow the footsteps of history and explore the historical ending of the Vandals. North Africa, as a former province of the Roman Empire, its grain, oil, and wine are important. At the beginning of the 6th century AD, the Vandals, the Germanic barbarians who occupied North Africa, had various interest disputes with the Byzantines. However, Childeric, the last king, strife in the Vandals. Hardliners believed that the Byzantines in the east not only had no power, but also the ability to interfere in the affairs of the Western Mediterranean. After decades of development, the Vandal Kingdom had become a powerful country in the Western Mediterranean. There is no need to fear the distant Byzantine Empire. This difference in policy triggered an intense struggle for royal power. The irreconcilable conflicts between the two sides eventually led to Childeric's resignation and the new king Gelimer ascending to the throne. Justinian, the ambitious emperor of Byzantium, saw this God-given opportunity and decisively sent troops to launch a war against the Vandals. But how can we win in such a war in which the labor force marches over a long distance? Let us introduce you to another great general of this era, Flavius Belisarius. His name in Latin is pronounced Flavius Belisarius. Belisarius was born in 505 AD, a general who was good at fighting and resourceful in the Byzantine Empire. When Justinian first regained the Western Roman Empire and recovered the territory of Western Rome that had been destroyed by the Germans, Belisarius was the core figure in the battlefield battles. He conquered the Vandals in North Africa and the Goths in Italy, and regained the city of Rome. Known as the last Roman general, he was one of the best military leaders in Roman history. Justinian first entrusted Belisarius with the highest military command in the Western Mediterranean War he launched, hoping that he would make new achievements in the war against the barbarians. Belisarius lived up to his high expectations, and conquered his talents were most fully demonstrated during the Western Mediterranean War. In 533 AD, Justinian ordered Belisarius to lead 18,000 soldiers and more than 100 large warships to cross the sea and directly capture the Vandal Kingdom. Justinian first was determined to conquer the Vandals by force, eliminate the Vandal Kingdom, force them to surrender, recognize the suzerainty of the Byzantine Emperor, and merge it from an independent kingdom into the Roman Empire to become a province. Belisarius led an army across the sea on an expedition, but the expeditionary force was not numerically superior. Belisarius adopted a strategy of silence. He first quietly entered the Western Mediterranean area and did not launch an attack rashly. He decided to take advantage of the Ostrogoths, who were fearful of and opposed to the Vandals, and actively win over the latter's support for Byzantium. Although they are both Germanic, the Vandal Kingdom also does not trust the Ostrogoths, who destroyed the Western Roman Empire and surrendered to Byzantium. There are major conflicts of interest between the two sides, and there have been many wars over Sicily. Taking advantage of the internal and external difficulties in the Vandal Kingdom, the Ostrogoths seized Sicily in one fell swoop. Located in the center of the Mediterranean Sea, Sicily is a natural habitat with a very important strategic position. Occupying Sicily will have the ability to directly threaten the Italian peninsula, Greece, North Africa, and other places. This is also an unacceptable result for the Vandals. The Ostrogoths were worried about future revenge from the Vandal Kingdom, so they began to fully support the Byzantine army in attacking the Vandals. They allowed Belisarius's expeditionary force to rest and recuperate in Sicily, relieve the fatigue of the voyage, and replenish various war supplies for the Byzantine army, allowing Belisarius to quickly complete preparations for the attack. Of course, the Ostrogoths lost their long-term strategic vision by seeking the skin of a tiger, which also laid the foundation for their subsequent demise. In 534 AD, after spending a full year of long-term war preparations, Belisarius figured out the defense situation of the Vandals. He ordered the Byzantine army to avoid the main defensive positions of the Vandals across the sea from Sicily, and instead made a sudden landing from Cabutuata, where its defenses were weak, and immediately quickly captured the coastal areas and established garrison camps. It was like a nail pierced directly into the heart of the Vandal Kingdom. The Byzantine army advanced so fast that the Vandal defense system was completely unable to react. Belisarius ordered the army to launch front and rear attacks from south to north along the coast and offshore areas at the same time, directly attacking the right flank of the Vandal defenders. The defenders who prepared for frontal defense were completely unexpected in the battle, and the entire army was completely in disarray. Belisarius took the opportunity to quickly capture the coastal cities of West Collect, Labadi, Adramit, Grassi, and Decuman north of Kabutuada. At this time, the Vandal king Gelimer began to mobilize troops from various places for reinforcements. In order to concentrate military power, especially the combination of sea and land to enhance the combat effectiveness of the army, Belisarius ordered the troops to stop attacking, camp in the coastal area near Decuman, and establish bases on the left and right sides of the natural harbor to respond to each other. He also ordered part of the fleet was hiding quietly in the harbor, lying in wait for the arrival of the Vandals. The decisive battle between the main forces of both sides finally broke out in the plain area east of the Aran Desert south of Decuman city. Not only did Belisarius's army not have an advantage in numbers, but the army was engaged in long-distance expeditionary operations. Compared with the Vandal army, which fought on the mainland and had sufficient supplies, it had no chance of winning. Belisarius made full use of his excellent wisdom and chose this relatively small space as a tactical strategy to set up an ambush on the decisive battlefield to balance the enemy's numerical advantage. Based on his past experience in fighting the Persian army, he believed that the Vandals did not understand the importance of combat formations. As long as the Byzantine expeditionary force concentrated its forces and defeated them one by one, it would be able to make the Vandals excel in a small geographical space. The large area straggler-style combat advantage cannot be brought into play. When the cavalry vanguard of the Vandal army appeared on the battlefield, Belisarius took advantage of the fact that the opponent's backup troops had not yet arrived and ordered the Byzantine cavalry, which had already been prepared for battle, to attack. The Vandals were caught off guard and fled in panic. Retreat. The next day, the Vandals gathered their armies and attacked the Byzantine army again. Belisarius changed his formation and concentrated all the Byzantine expeditionary forces into columns along the coast. The sudden cavalry forward troops disrupted and lured the enemy, provoking the entire Vandal army's offensive, and then retreated significantly to join the main forward troops. After the forward troops locked the target, the main force, which was waiting for work, continued to pretend to resist the Vandal army and retreated while fighting, luring the main force of the enemy into the encirclement. Belisarius personally commanded all the main forces and waited for the concentration of troops to launch a decisive attack. Assault, thereby defeating Vandals' main force in one fell swoop. The Vandals, like other Germanic peoples, are tall and brave in combat, but they lack basic strategic and tactical literacy, and their organizational discipline is relatively loose. They have strong individual combat capabilities, but they consume a lot of physical strength in their fierce attacks, fighting from left to right but still unable to find an opponent to fight with, let alone achieving any results. After Belisarius saw that the Vandals were beginning to tire, he ordered the entire main force to dispatch and launch a surprise attack. The elite troops began to attack the main Vandal force with force. When the two armies finally began to clash head-on, the Vandal soldiers were already tired of running for their lives. At this time, Belisarius led his army effortlessly and began to massacre the Vandals with the main force of Byzantium. After only a short round of fierce fighting, the Vandals were obviously exhausted and unable to resist. The Vandals' whole army began to collapse, and the army was defeated like a mountain. The cavalry, which had lost its organization, fled in all directions, trampling on each other, and the Vandals suffered numerous casualties. The entire Vandal army was destroyed. This devastating blow established the decisive victory of the entire war for the Byzantines to conquer the Vandal Kingdom. The Vandals had lost the effective force that could compete with the Byzantine expeditionary force. Belisarius's strategy worked. After the great victory, he decided not to give the Vandals any time to breathe and led his army directly north to seize Chalcedon, the last military town of the Vandals on the eastern coast of Tunisia, and the main Byzantine army could pursue the remaining Vandal forces westward. The Byzantine army launched a western expedition from the city of Chalcedon. The remaining Vandal troops and inland reinforcements that had lost control hurriedly retreated to Tricamero in an attempt to reorganize resistance. In order to capture the city quickly, the Byzantine army crossed the river near Tricamero first, occupied the favorable terrain, and took advantage of the enemy's shock to cover up the enemy and achieve a great victory in the Battle of Tricamero. At this point, the Vandal military power has been completely wiped out by the Byzantine army. Belisarius has completed the war goal of the Western expedition. According to Justinian's original plan, after the Vandal king Gelimer recognized the suzerainty of the Byzantine Empire, he can end the war. However, Belisarius decided not to let go of this easy final victory, destroy the Vandal Kingdom, and completely eradicate the potential threat of the Byzantine Empire in the Western Mediterranean. The general was not satisfied with the order of the foreign king. Before the ministers sent by Justinian first arrived, he ordered the Byzantine army to continue to pursue the remnants of Gelimer who fled westward. He personally led the elite cavalry troops to travel day and night, following Gelimer as he advanced westward, and finally captured the last enemy force in Ypres city. At this time, Gelimer, who had been repeatedly defeated in battles, had no choice but to rebel. Supporters of the former king and domestic opponents expressed their allegiance to the Byzantine emperor. Seeing that the situation was over, Gelimer and his remaining defeated troops were forced to leave the city and surrender. At the end of 534 AD, Gelimer finally became a prisoner of the Byzantine Empire after 4 years on the throne, and the Vandal Kingdom fell. Belisarius left the task of re-establishing the local government of the Byzantine Empire in North Africa after the victory to the ministers sent by Justinian first, while he escorted Gelimer, the Vandal nobles and generals back to Constantinople. The captured Vandals were later reorganized and became the Vandal Legion in the Byzantine army, serving as cannon fodder in the wars of the Byzantine Empire. In the end, this legion was exhausted in the Byzantine foreign wars. As time went by, this Germanic army national branches have also disappeared without a trace in history. The only thing left to the Vandals is the resounding name of the plunder kings of history. Belisarius' victory won him great honor and reputation. The barbarians in the surrounding areas of the Byzantine Empire were frightened by the news. He was called the barbarian nemesis. Justinian first was also surprised and pressured by his arbitrary actions and over-fulfilled tasks. The demise of the Vandal Kingdom made him vaguely see that the past glory of the Roman Empire was about to reappear, and he dreamed of becoming a great emperor. The ideal of making history is about to be realized. There is no room for two tigers in one mountain. Although his admiration for his beloved general was indescribable, the suspicious emperor was also worried about Belisarius' huge reputation in the army. Justinian first held a grand triumphal ceremony for Belisarius after he returned to Byzantium. When Belisarius wore a military uniform and rode a tall horse through the Victory Gate of Constantinople, the noble officials and soldiers who lined up to welcome him felt extremely proud. No one had achieved this feat since Constantine the Great. No one has ever achieved such outstanding military exploits, and no one has enjoyed such a glorious honor. Especially no military general has received this honor in hundreds of years. In order to win over Belisarius, Justinian first also generously rewarded the soldiers who participated in the Vandal War, and personally awarded Belisarius the honorary title of consul. Justinian first generously rewarded Belisarius and his men not only in recognition of their achievements, but more importantly, in order to inspire the entire army to work wholeheartedly for his political ambition to rebuild the Roman Empire. Continue to fight in the next Gothic war that is about to take place. Where did the Vandals go after they lost their kingdom? Historically, it is generally believed that the Vandals were assimilated with the local indigenous and later Arabs after the demise of the Vandal Kingdom in North Africa. However, it has been found that at least some of the Vandals did not migrate to the southwest with the large group of people, but stayed in Cilicia in Central Europe. In 1875 AD, a German farmer dug up a huge fortune at the foot of the mountain, which was enough for several large bags of Roman Empire gold coins. Its minting era covered almost the entire imperial era until the division of Rome from east to west. Obviously, this was for the Roman Empire during this period. Remuneration received by the Vandals as mercenaries in the Roman Empire. With the intensive advancement of archaeological excavations in this area, a large number of pottery workshops, houses, tombs, and utensils from the history of the Vandals have been unearthed. In 1934 AD, the second year after Hitler was elected Chancellor of Germany, teachers and students from the Institute of Anthropology of Breslau University near the Zeelands Mountains conducted an interesting local survey. They first measured the size, length, and proportions of all human bones unearthed here and who died between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD. They then conducted the same survey among the current residents of 800 villages in Silesia and accepted measurements. There are 67,000 adults in total. A few years later, they announced a shocking analysis. A considerable number of the current residents of Silesia have a very similar structure to the Aboriginal people, the Vandals, from the 1st to 3rd centuries AD. The appearance characteristics of the Vandals are easy to identify. They are large, with thick bones, longer skulls, higher skulls and cheekbones, and narrow noses. They are obviously different from other Germanic peoples and later Slavs. This discovery proves that at least some of the Vandals did not follow the pace of the Great Migration to the southwest, but stayed in Silesia. British newspapers, which had always been at odds with the Germans, immediately began to report the discovery with a mocking title. The title was Living Fossils Discovered in Silesia, which meant that the Germans also had Vandal ancestry. This research project eventually failed due to the second outbreak of the World War, which brought a complete halt and never resumed in the years to come. In Silesia in the 21st century, there are not many descendants of the Vandals anymore. After World War II, in order to take eastern Poland as its own, the Soviet Union gave the German East Prussia region, including Silesia, as compensation. Poland and a large number of German indigenous people were subsequently driven to the west bank of the Oder River, and the director of the Breslau Institute of Anthropology went to the University of Mainz thousands of miles away. Dear friends, thank you for your company and care. Together we move forward with the wheel of history and pass through those moments where history dwells side by side. It allows us to truly experience what true tranquility is and makes us more upright and strong. Compared with any clouds and waves in history, everything we experience today is just like a tiny speck of dust falling into the Milky Way. This is the content of our historical exploration in this issue. In the next issue, we will continue to introduce you to the story of Byzantium's Western Mediterranean War and the final fate of the Goths. Thank you for watching and accompanying me. I am your time journey navigator, Stardust. Let us gain insight into the distant past and foresee a bright future together. See you next time.